All right, now let's talk about cracking. Everybody cracks. The Germans have a word for it, kieksen. The Italians say rompere, to break. We have this tendency to crack. And everyone cracks. It's funny, all the voice categories tend to crack. Tenors are probably the easiest to hear. What sort of disaster it is when you have a good crack. Sort of embarrassing. I've heard some great tenors, great singers crack. And they cover it very often by pretending they're sobbing. And it's interesting that one of the vocalises I like to do is this falsetto attachment. Ooh, ah. Now the voice is suddenly, watch, the paper leaks, the paper moves because my breath is leaking, I'm going, ooh. So the falsetto, a real true falsetto requires leaky breath. So I go, ooh, ah. But the minute I attach my breath to my diaphragm, the paper stops moving. Now we've been through this various times. But let's apply this to cracking today. Now I want to go, ooh, ah. Now if I sing with the breath attached, it doesn't leak. See, it's also not falsetto. So we go, ooh, ah. When I let my voice crack, that means it's going back to falsetto. Why would I go back to falsetto? Think of it. It's just a different way of thinking about cracking. Cracking, most people crack and they don't know what happened or what did. What happens is you've lost the attachment of the breath. The breath is directed toward the diaphragm and it is done in a constant, even degree of pressure from the lower back against the diaphragm. So I breathe behind me and I go, ooh. Now establish my emission. Ooh, now I attach it. Ooh, ah, and it doesn't crack. What would I do to get it to crack? Think about it. I have to let go of this steady emission and let it slip off my diaphragm, which is the way I produce the falsetto. Remember, ooh, how do I do falsetto? Ooh, the breath slips and it goes to falsetto. So that's my crack. So I go, I'm letting the breath become unattached to my diaphragm, and then the voice cracks. Some singers like cracks. They use them for sobbing. The most famous one was Beniamino Gigli, who was one of the greatest singers in history, one of the greatest voices in history. He used the crack, or the falsetto attachment, deliberately a lot, all during his career. It kept his voice attached. Funny, he and Giacomo Volpi studied with the same people, and Volpi never did use the falsetto attachment or the audible cracking attachment. Gigli, they called it sobbing. For instance, if I go, ooh, ah, no, there's my attachment. But Gigli did it quickly, like this. Ah, I can either do it fast, ooh, slowly, ooh, ah, or quickly, ah. So if I go, ah, 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 I can sing like that. It sounds like I'm being very emotional and very carrying. What I'm doing really is using a falsetto attachment, which is an organized emission that is steady, and I go, whoo, and you see how when I did it, the paper didn't move, did it? Look. Whoo, I can put that paper anywhere I want it out there. Whoo, or whoo, 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 whoo. If I attach that little one, I get whoo, ah, yeah. Which brings up another question. Why use so much breath? Why use such a big, heavy emission? When a little emission will establish the falsetto, it will also establish what is necessary to attach the falsetto to the diaphragm. And if I do that, I go, ooh, ah, I'm now attached. All I have to do is stay attached. I got there by feeding the emission of my breath against my diaphragm, but through the edges of my vocal cords with air passing through my vocal cords. So if I go, whoo, the air is coming this way. Now I'm going to redirect my air. Instead of sending it up this way, I'm going to send it down this way. And I go, whoo, ah, and it's right here. It's sitting right there. I pick a spot, right? I breathe like this. Then I direct the emission of the breath right here. Whoo, and then I leave it there. La 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 la. So all these people that say you have to cover in the throat, that means if I do this, it's a change of emission. The minute I go, I change the emission. Used to be against the rules, change the emission. You're supposed to do it with the invisible throat, the visible tongue, the invisible jaw. But what is my emission doing? Look. Now, why would I need to cover? What would covering do? If I don't cover, I get, do I have to have wide open? So what is la? What is that? Except an action in the throat, which is spreading. The covering is another action in the throat, which is lifting up and over. Both are actions in the throat, therefore they are both wrong. What if I do nothing in my throat, but I control my emission? Well, I don't have that note. So this business of cracking is not a thing in the world, but going, in my case, back to falsetto, because I started there. Remember? That's how I'm attaching my voice, or attaching my breath from my lower back to my diaphragm. Some people sing blowing breath up in their throats and try to hold it together. You do that. Now you got to lift your palate or something to get some color. Well, then everybody sings out of fach, out of the cat in the wrong category. I sang as a bass in college when I did that. A lot of tenors sing as baritones, a lot of sopranos sing as mezzos, a lot of mezzos sing as contraltos. Everybody tends to sing in a heavier repertoire than they really are. Or we send the breath up from a shallow place. Now I've got to lift my palate or something to get color. And I go, But if I wouldn't be so shallow, and if I wouldn't change my emission all over the place, if I'd keep it attached, I wouldn't have to do any of that stuff. So cracking is going back to falsetto. That's the point I wanted to make today. If you have a problem cracking, and ladies, it happens from chest voice to head voice, when you move from your voice, from the chest, don't go up with the breath. If you do, it'll make your whole middle voice weak. And so people, to avoid that, will sing their lower notes in the middle register. They'll go, and they try to maintain that headiness in the low notes. Well, that's not correct either. You should be dropping the breath on your diaphragm, and then you go, and the voice can go back from register to register without any problem at all, just by maintaining this breath attachment, which is how we avoid cracking in the first place. If you're not careful, the voice will literally slip up and the air will hit you hard, especially under pressure when you're singing dramatic music, some kind of heavy declamation, and then you let the breath go this direction, and it hits the vocal cord, and it can damage your nerve, it can wreck your voice, you can tear the voice loose at the root, all sorts of things can happen, horrible things, right? If the breath, the only thing that goes through your trachea, the only thing that goes through your voice box is air. Nothing passes through your vocal cords except air, which means air is the only thing that can damage you. So air can be your worst enemy, breath can be your worst enemy, or it can be your best friend. If I breathe in, keep my breath way down here, and then direct my emission in my diaphragm, now there's no breath coming up, and it stays attached, and I don't crack. La la. Then my breath gets redirected and starts to slip up. I get la, and it goes back to falsetto. If you can think of cracking as falsetto, you can get a sort of a handle on cracking through breath control. By breath control, I don't mean holding it tight, you know. You have to let the breath lean. The word is really lean. Like you put your arm on someone's shoulder, like this, and you lean on someone's shoulder. You let your body weight lean on the shoulder with your legs straight, and you're like this. Now I'm leaning on his shoulder. Now I'm not going to fall down unless he moves, or she. If they move, they are my support. Therefore, if they move, I'll fall down. So the thing that is so important is when we take the breath and we breathe down behind us, I'm going to direct that breath just like I'm leaning my arm on somebody's shoulder. I'm going to go, ah. If I do that from a falsetto, I get, ah, and there it is. My voice is attached. It's attached through leaning. So if I breathe and then I do nothing, la, the truth is I'm better off doing nothing. First of all, I'm 81 and last longer. You want to be an old geezer, still be singing? I'd have fun every day. Why not, right? The idea is to do nothing here, nothing in the jaw, nothing in the tongue. Look at my tongue. My tongue is doing nothing. If I raise my tongue up, it's done with a muscle action. If I depress my tongue, it's done with a muscle action. Nothing affects, this is George London's great thing. He said nothing moves unless the breathing moves it. So if I want my tongue to move, I have to breathe. Then my tongue relaxes and goes down, my larynx goes down, and what happens on the falsetto? Look. Ooh, there's my Adam's apple. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah. So there's no reason for me to raise my throat or to depress my throat. If I press my larynx down, I get ooh, ah, and I get that sound, you know? And if I sing that way, it makes my voice fall back and get a little darker and fatter, and people can't hear me very well over an orchestra. The trouble with covering the voice as an action is the voice falls back and can't be heard. The trouble with singing wide open, or any kind of action in the throat that spreads and opens the throat, makes the voice sound blatty, see? Yawning is a general disaster because it does that, and then the voice falls back, and then you have to go nying, 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 or something to get the voice forward again. So why do anything? Why not just go, whoo, look at that falsetto. Whoo, 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 ah, whoo, ah, whoo, ah. If I do it like that, whoo, ah, whoo, ah, whoo, ah, whoo, ah. All I'm doing is not leaking and maintaining the attachment of my breath to my diaphragm. And then the voice goes up, no problem. So guys, if you're having trouble cracking, try this. I think you'll be surprised. It really is sort of amazing what it does, you know? Okay, bye.